Hey everyone, Pat Beliveau here. It's Tuesday, the 28th of April, 2020. I got one more story here for you tonight. This is another Mel Torme, just a little bit, and then I'm going to break into my part one of my Rob McConnell experience of a while ago. And this first part with Mel Torme, this is the last tour. One of the things that I have that I remember, I can't remember where I got this, but I took it. I think it was just some of the promo that was in the lobby or something, and I ended up having it framed. I had Mel sign it, and I had Maureen sign it. Oh, that's terrible glare. Sorry about that. That was kind of the theme of our tour, the Great American Songbook, with the Festival Concert Orchestra. That was what we were dubbed. Interestingly enough, while we were on tour, I had I asked the sound man, because we traveled with our own sound man, and I asked the sound man if he could do a recording for me on cassette through the board, the soundboard, which he did. He did that twice for me. He did that once. And this is the one I'm going to play for you now. If you can see that. Oh, God, more glare. Recorded at Close Memorial Hall on the campus of Butler University in Indianapolis, Indiana, March 12th, 1992. So that's this cassette. And what I'm going to play for you now is our band playing the arrangement that we had of it. It don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. Soloists, as well as with Mel's rhythm section, I think John Coliani does a solo on piano. John Lightham on bass, and I think Don Osborne has a bit of a solo too. The horn solos are Greg Degler on tenor. If you remember, Greg was the one that drove me from our rehearsal to George Baker's condo. If you remember if you looked at my Mel Torme tour thing, when I got to the rehearsal and I couldn't get my rental car, Greg was the one that drove me to where I was staying. It was a student of trumpeter Bobby Shoes named George Baker. And Greg was the one that drove me. He was one of our tenor players. And Dave Ryan on trombone. I don't remember Dave very well. He's not a guy that I really hung out with or spent much time talking to. And then Ron Barrows on trumpet. He was our lead player. Interesting thing about Ron, one of the stories he told me was, if you remember the first Terminator movie with Arnold, the whole bit, there's a scene where I think somebody's working on a motorbike in the front driveway. And Arnold shows up at this house. This is where John Connor, the young John Connor, lives. Ron was saying that was his house. And the movie company moved he and his family out, and I think and put them up in either a really nice hotel or in another house, beautifully furnished house for them. And they basically did a whole bunch of trashing of the inside of his house, redid the whole house for them, top to bottom, inside and out. And it was an interesting thing that when he was telling us that story, that the house that you see in the Terminator in the very first one was his house. And then the alto solo is Brian Mitchell. He was our second alto player, and he was the nephew of, and I think he's passed away now, but he was the nephew of jazz bassist Red Mitchell. So I thought that was quite interesting. But anyway, I've got a recording here. It's on cassette, and it is of us doing Ellington's "It Don't Mean a Thing If It Ain't Got That Swing" with Mel. Close Memorial Hall on Butler University in Indianapolis, March 12th, 1992. So I'm going to just play this for you, and hopefully the sound will be okay coming through here. Here it is.
The truth of the matter is that, let's face it, scat singing is really an adjunct of jazz. It's patently American. It doesn't sound right when it's sung any other way.
I'm getting out of the
And
screen.
as long as we're going to do a little scat for you tonight, ladies and gentlemen, how could we not include at least one song in the Great American Songbook by the master of them all? And I mean the master. Who else but Duke Ellington? Don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. It don't mean a thing, all you got to do is swing. Makes no difference if it's sweet or hot. Give that rhythm everything you got. Don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. Ron Barrows, ladies and gentlemen, on trumpet. Dave Ryan on trombone. Here comes Brian Mitchell on alto sax, ladies and gentlemen. Brian Mitchell. Here comes Donnie. John Lightham. Oh yeah. Here comes John Coliani. Look out! Makes no difference if it's sweet or hard. Give that rhythm everything you've got. It don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. Shoot-da-da-da, shoot-da-da-da.
His usual ending. Last chord. Last chord.
Oh yeah! Brian Mitchell, Greg Degler, ladies and gentlemen, Ron Barrows, Dave Ryan, and my guys, okay, Donnie, John, and John Coliani.
So we were also playing, I remember this too. He actually gave me a chance to solo too. I have it on a different cassette. This one was recorded in Indianapolis, and I remember being at the hall. We were at the and it's not a word of a lie, the Oscar Mayer Theater. Yes, we nicknamed it the Wiener Theater, but the Oscar Mayer Theater in Madison, Wisconsin. And I walked into the bathroom, and there was Mel doing his business, and I came up to the urinal beside him, and interesting where these things go down. That's just what happened, though. And while we're both doing our business, he turns to me and says, how would you like a solo on It Don't Mean a Thing Tonight? I said, absolutely. So he said, okay, I'll fit you in after, I can't remember who it was that was ahead of me, one of these guys that you just heard. And I remember afterwards, and he's just one of a few that have mispronounced my name, but I remember him introducing me. He called me Pat Belivar. But then he corrected himself. Pat Belivar, excuse me, is what he said. I do have that cassette kicking around somewhere, but I haven't found it yet. So I did find the one that I just played for you, obviously, from Indianapolis, but not the one from Madison, Wisconsin. So I'll see if I can find that maybe at some point. That would be cool. Anyway, so going from there, I wanted to play that for you just so you could hear. And I know it wasn't a great recording because it was like straight off the soundboard, just a very rough soundboard mix, but that's what that was. So anyway, here's how I'm going to tie this in the Rob McConnell thing, and the Mel Torme thing, and segue into the Rob McConnell thing. I'll just read you what I've got here and then expand on it as necessary. One last Mel Torme related post with a little Rob McConnell to add some spice to the mix, shall we say. Rob McConnell and the Boss Brass did an album with Mel Torme many years ago, and I don't recall exactly what year it was, unfortunately. Below, I have posted the song Just Friends from that album. When touring with Torme in 1992, there were two songs we only played once. Somebody from the audience called out a request for the Christmas song. I was going to say chipmunks roasting on an open fire. Chestnuts. Those things. This was mid-February that this happened. And, of course, Mel wrote the music for that. Bob Wells wrote the lyrics. So he was happy to do it for them. And the other song we only did once was this arrangement of Just Friends that he recorded with the Boss Brass. Now, on my Facebook page, I've got the link, the YouTube link, but just look up if you want to hear it. It's a great arrangement. Look up Rob McConnell and the Boss Brass, Mel Torme, Just Friends. I'm sure it'll be there. We had it kicking around on our music folders, though, but we only played it once. I was so hoping that he would program it to do each night, but that never happened. I listened to that album a lot, and especially that track. Fast forward to about 4 or 5 years after that tour. Now, here's where we go to the Rob McConnell thing. Here I am, about 28 or 29 years old, and I find myself in a quintet with Rob McConnell, playing at a club in Calgary that no longer exists, by the way, called Chaos Cafe. Calgary folks, I bet you remember Chaos. With Calgary drummer John DeWall on drums, Mike Lent from Edmonton on bass, and Don Wilston, who moved back to the Toronto area years ago, on piano. Rob calls Just Friends in B flat, which I believe it is the same key as the track down below in this post, and the recording that he did with the Boss Brass and Mel Torme. He calls Just Friends in B flat, not the key I knew it in, but no problem. And after the head is done, I started soloing first. Rob put his horn down and sat down at an empty table in front of the stage to listen. On the last chorus of my solo, I began playing the ensemble section of the Torme Boss Brass recording, where the rhythm section drops out. When you check out the recording below, you'll hear it. What happens is the rhythm section completely stops. All the horns plus Mel Torme play like a 2D section all together. No rhythm section. And that's the part I'm talking about. It's fairly early in the chart, or if in the recording too, if you hear it. I had heard that cut so many times that I had internalized the whole section. Oh, pardon me, I skipped ahead. Rob put his horn down and sat down at an empty table in front of the stage to listen. On the last chorus of my solo, I began playing that ensemble section from the Torme Boss Brass recording where the rhythm section drops out. I had heard that cut so many times that I had internalized the whole section. Sorry, I kind of misread that. Anyway, moving along. On the table where Rob was sitting was an empty glass of what was ice water and a rag to clean the table with. So right after I begin playing this section from the Boss Brass record, Rob reaches into the empty glass and starts throwing the ice cubes at me while I'm playing. I will admit that dodging ice cube projectiles while playing was a bit distracting. But I kept on with it. Eventually, he ran out of ice cubes, so he picked up the rag and threw that at me. Yes, he did. There was nothing else left to throw at me after the rag except the table itself, or maybe a chair. So he comes up to the stage as I was finishing, grabs his valve trombone, and in a loud, gruff voice says, "Play it again!" About like that, too, and quite loud. So I played it again, and it went from being a solo to a duet, and then he launched into his solo right after. Not long after that, Guido Basso, longtime Boss Brass member and trumpet flugelhorn master and wonderful human being, came to town, and of course I went to see and hear him. Why wouldn't you, unless you were dead or already working? Guido, if I was going to play flugelhorn, Guido has the most exquisite flugelhorn sound. If I was going to play flugelhorn, and I'm not, so I'll spare you that, but if I was, I would want to sound just like him. Like the sweetness of his tone is just, it's awesome. Anyway, he came to town, and of course I went to see and hear him. Why wouldn't you, unless you were dead or already working? And I told him the ice cube projectile story. And his reply was, well, that means he likes you. My response was, well, what does he do if he doesn't like you? Slash your tires? So anyway, and then I have that YouTube link to Just Friends. It's the first cut on the album. Rob McConnell and the Boss Brass with Mel Torme. Very cool. But anyway, I just wanted to send that out to you guys tonight. And I have a part 2, Rob McConnell part 2 story. Same night as he was throwing ice and a rag at me and all that stuff. It happened the same night. And I'll probably catch up with that tomorrow. This is Tuesday, the 28th of April, 2020. I'm dating all of these videos that I'm putting up. So I'll date that one for tomorrow, and I'll lay it out for you tomorrow. It'll be a very quick story. It's kind of a funny one. It has to do with, on all these videos on YouTube, there's one of me playing, and I'm playing the song I'll Remember April. You'll understand why I played that song once I tell you that story tomorrow. So look for the one dated April 29th. That's the one. Okay, folks. That's about all for tonight. Again, if you have any questions, comments, gig topics, hello, video topics, anything like that, yeah, it's time for bed. It really is. Or just want to say hi, whatever. I'm going to put my email address below. It is YouTube at belltones.ca. I will put it below, though, so if you have anything you want to ask me or comment on or whatever, feel free to send me off a message, and I'll respond to you. Unless you're a freak and you say weird stuff or send me spam. Then you're dead to me, and I will delete you. Like that. Okay, just saying. Just want to put that out there. Not trying to be that guy, but I think I'm going to be that guy. So anyway, so I hope you have a great night, and that's all for tonight, and I'll talk to you later. Take care. Bye now.